Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Archetap, where every week we talk about, tap on, and meditate with a different archetype. We've been working our way through the major Arcana series. We're doing the moon tonight. I'm excited. It's an archetype we talk about a lot in our culture, but for some reason we're allowed to talk about this archetype the most. So probably even off the top of your heads, you kind of know in general, like we're probably talking about some cycles. We're talking about patterns. We're talking about hidden meanings. These are some of the key themes that come up with this card. So I love the term the holy mirror. In one of the Gnostic tarot books that I was reading, that was like the label under this card is the holy mirror. From a human design perspective, reflectors have no chakras defined in their system, and they live on a lunar schedule. They are lunar beings for sure. So I don't know, for some reason I felt like adding that in. Some other keywords to think about when thinking about this archetype: it's mystery, it's the unconscious, the unknown, things that are hidden, cycles and patterns. Like I said before, she's super creative. She's very sensitive. She's all about filling up and then letting go. So waxing and waning. And she knows how to let go, which we'll talk about when we get into kind of the codon ring here too. This is also associated with the angel of light and imagination. In my brain, come back. In Greek mythology, this is Artemis. And then in Roman mythology, why am I saying that weird? I'm like, I know that's not, it's Diana, was the moon goddess. And okay, I forgot my card at my office, so I screenshot it really quick before. So this is what the card looks like in the universal weight tarot. So you see there's like a body of water. There's this lobster or crawfish coming up out of the water. He is symbolizing like our primordial form, like where we've come from and where we're going. Well, it's actually harder to see in this one. There's kind of, in other cards, the variations of green are a little bit different. There's kind of a light green and a dark green, and then this blue mountain range. So it's 3 levels of earth that you're seeing there that are about our unconscious, our subconscious, and then our super conscious mind, which other cards have talked about these layers too. And then there's this pathway that's leading up the mountains that is the path that explores these layers. We've got a dog and a wolf. On one side, the dog is our domestication. The wolf is our wild self, and how we need to be honoring both of these two things. The 2 towers on either side here are our portal into our higher levels of consciousness. And then the moon itself is cycles, rhythms, tides, menstruation. I mean, it's also about dim light. Not next week, but when we meet again, we'll talk. The sun is the next card. So it's going to have, meaning like this super strong direct light. Like this is about soft light and what can be seen and how it distorts color and how it distorts shapes and allows us to see things differently. So that's the card. The dark side of her, she's being controlled by inner forces that she doesn't understand. Things that are hidden, there's confusion there, like not really understanding yourself and then why things are happening the way they are. Feeling fear. The lighter side of her is an invitation to really dive deep below the surface, to explore your unconscious self, the world of dreams. She's super associated with intuition and psychic abilities, and is really asking us to pay attention to cycles. So we're going to say that word lots of times in this class. So the moon tells us that life is mysterious and we are mysterious. Our personal unconscious is a gateway to the collective unconscious. And by coming to know ourselves better, it helps us understand the world around us, right? She's matriarchal. For sure, she's a lady. A really deep and intuitive feminine. She reflects back to us ourselves. I guess that's why I wanted to talk about reflectors earlier. It's just this concept of a holy mirror. And in human design, reflectors they're the ones that are kind of showing us like, how we doing? Which isn't always so good. I'm trying to think of one of the more famous writers is a reflector. Oh God, what's that show on Hulu where it's like set in the future and society, like the women that can have children, or what is it called? Where's the chat? Help me out. Someone throw it in the chat. I know you know. Handmaid's Tale. The writer of The Handmaid's Tale is a reflector. So you can look at what she's thinking about society and reflecting back to us, right? So that's, to me, a really good, Margaret Atwood, yeah, is a really good example of how that shows up in a practical, like, perspective, you know? When we get into the gene keys here, this is the codon ring of no return, which I love the name of. This is gene keys 31 and 62. Is that right? Yeah, it's Margaret Atwood. Yeah. She did Oryx and Crake too. Yeah. Yep. This is associated with the amino acid tyrosine. It's a non-essential amino acid, and that just means that our body can produce it from another amino acid that I didn't write down. But our bodies do really need it. Like it is essential. It's behind the scenes, it's a superstar. It's supporting our brain, it's supporting our looks, it's our energy, it's our mood, it's associated with neurotransmitters that create dopamine and norepinephrine and epinephrine. So things that are related to fight or flight and pleasure. Super important. We don't want those to get hijacked in the wrong way, you know? Tyrosine creates thyroid hormones. All of this lives in the throat chakra, by the way. So it is associated with the thyroid. And it helps regulate our metabolism and our body temperature. So the things that make us feel warm and cozy and relaxed are with the help of this amino acid. It also creates melanin production in our body. So hair, skin, nails, eye color. Great antioxidant and supports our immune system. So that's what tyrosine does. The codon ring of no return. Once we begin speaking our truth, there's no going back. Once certain evolutionary or spiritual principles have taken hold inside of us, we are fundamentally changed. That's basically what this is saying. So gene key 31, the shadow of gene key 31 is arrogance, and which at its root, right, is always insecurity. I mean, when you look at the kind of gross form of arrogance, there's macho posturing, and the bully is always the most insecure person in the room, right? Like there's a reason. So, and then there's spiritual arrogance, which I definitely suffer from in some capacities. I think, I mean, obviously all religions across the world suffer from this type of arrogance. They think their way is the right way. But it can really be true in new agey type groups too, where we think we've arrived in some way, or I'm living life better than you. And I can definitely see myself slipping into that pattern sometimes. And it's not comfortable at all. Like I can see myself being uncomfortable, but I'll still I'm insecure, right? So I've got to have some sort of anchor for myself but it's false. So really what I'm looking for is humility here. I'm going to turn, it's hot in here. 2 seconds. The dilemma here really with arrogance is about having choice in our life. You know, we're humans. We have to let ourselves be fallible. We're gonna fall a lot over and over again. And it's really the people who aren't willing to admit that are probably, you know, the lowest expression of this type of shadow. When we think about like what kinds of leaders we want in the world, I don't want a perfect person leading me. I want the person that I can relate to leading me, you know, that has maybe been where I've been, has fallen flat on their face too, and gets it, you know, and then has come out the other side with courage and with patience. And so I like thinking about it like that. But when we think about the dilemma here is choice. So when we act out of integrity instead of insecurity because we're trying to control everything in our lives, we're acting arrogantly. And it's the dance of, do we have a choice or not? Is there free will or not? You know, do we make our lives happen or do they happen to us? I love to say I create my own reality. I say it daily. And there's a lot of truth to it, but I think in coming to like research this again today, there's a lot of truth to it because it gets me out of victimhood. When I make the statement, I create my own reality, then I'm taking full responsibility for my life and I'm not allowing myself to be a victim of it anymore. But I do think from maybe a more panned out perspective that there is a storyline going on that I might not have a whole lot of say in, you know, like I can adjust the script, but maybe not the storyline type of thing. So that's why it's a choice. We have to learn to let go over and over and over and over again. It's going to come back. We're going to find ourselves insecure. We'll find ourselves trying to posture so that we can feel more secure. And then we're like, oh yeah, fuck. And then we let go, you know, and it's just, it's just like that. I don't know that. I mean, it definitely is getting better and it's going to get better. And I can promise all of you in this room that too. But I don't think it's a thing that goes away. It's a part of the thing that makes us human. So it just might get easier. I think there's a lot in moments where I can just be really vulnerable. I feel my most powerful. I cringe and I try to deny it, but the truth is that I really feel a lot stronger when I'm just willing to admit that I'm weak. So can you hear me okay? Okay. Arrogance wants to let go of us, right? Too. Like the me, the you, the arrogance is all about me. It's about caring what other people think. It's trying to please other people or provoke or get attention. And so we have to find humility and to be vulnerable, like I said, and surrender over and over. We're going to learn how to bow to life. Not because we're resigned, but because we trust it so deeply that we just allow ourselves to let go again and again. Someone's in the room with you, Julie. And then the other gene key that is associated with this codon ring is gene key 62. The shadow of this one is intellect. And we put a lot of weight in our society on the intellect. And don't get me wrong, it's done a lot of good. I mean, think about, we've moved people out of poverty into, you know, out of poverty and into prosperity. We've got technology, that's helped us become much more efficient than we ever could be. But it's really one note, and that's because it's all external. like all of those changes are external. None of those changes are internal. So the intellect doesn't really help us with the gooey stuff inside of here. And we need that. We desperately need it. And so there's probably going to be, I mean, and we think about like, we put so much weight in technology, but really it could go at any time. I mean, one wrong, weird sunbeam hits us and it could go, and then we're back to square one. And then we're going to have to really like dig deep to fucking figure it out. So yeah, I'm not to say that the intellect isn't amazing. It's absolutely amazing, but we can't go backwards, right? And we also love as a culture, whatever generation we're from, we love to talk about the good old days. And that could be ancient, or that could be, you know, my childhood or whatever. I mean, it could go back not long, and it could go back quite far. And we admire, you know, different societies and how they adapted and how they grew and the technologies that they had at those times, but there's no going back there. So we have to be really precise in our thoughts. I think that that's the takeaway here, is we have to be really precise in our thoughts. When we change our thoughts, when we are willing to be inside our bodies and in the now moment, and when we choose, when we make the choice to notice a thought, notice it's maybe not so, you know, vibing as high as it could be, and then asking ourselves, can I think a higher quality thought? It changes everything. It changes our frequency, which is a different attractor pattern. So, and Eva, I saw something floated through my world yesterday about frequency that I thought was, I might have even posted it actually, but I had never really considered the word frequent and frequency, but they're the same thing. And so when we're talking about where our minds are frequently, that's what frequency we are at. So you know, how often can we hold the vision? How often can we anchor ourselves into a thought that feels better? I mean, really, it's that simple. We don't have to search too far, of just like taking a deep breath, asking the universe for a better quality thought. Usually one pops in. um, you know, hitting the brakes for a second, recognizing that like whatever problem that you're frustrated with, or maybe trying to solve in that moment by thinking, doesn't get solved at the same frequency that the problem exists. So you have to, you know, ask the universe in certain ways for different creative solutions. Is there a creative solution that I haven't thought of yet, type of thing? So any questions about any of that before we jump into tapping? Okay, take some water if you have some. And then just get started tapping on the side of the hand while we get set up here. Pardon me. All upside down. Okay. Take a big, deep letting go breath. And repeat after me. Even though I am journeying through some shadows, embracing both my light and my dark sides, I deeply and completely accept myself. Keep tapping. Even though I've been a bit too friendly with the side of me that knows it all. Thinking that I could plan every twist in the plot of my life. I choose to deeply appreciate my inner director. But I think I'm ready to improvise my script a little bit. To embrace the dance of life with a smile and a little humility. So even though I'm on this wild ride, discovering my inner power, discovering my precision under an ever-changing moon, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay. Top of the head. Oh, my intellect, my trusty compass. Sometimes I'm a little bossy. Trying to control everything because I'm feeling insecure. But it's time for a graceful sidestep. Into the land of, let's see what happens. I'm willing to admit that sometimes my inner genius wears clown shoes. My mind and heart are this dynamic duo. But they don't always get along. I want to be in a place where it's easier and easier for me to find coherence between my mind and my heart. I want to face my fears, knowing that they're just reflections of shadow. That when illuminated, are not nearly as scary as they seem to be. I choose to release anything that's clouding my vision. And honor the complexity of my emotions. I choose to be humble. And face life with a little bit of a giggle. Because we all fall down. We've all got quirky shit. So navigating this journey with an open heart, stepping out of victimhood shedding it like a heavy coat. Acknowledging my path. That's decorated with wins and losses. I'm reminding myself not to take me so seriously. I'm paying attention to my inner rhythms. I'm paying attention to my patterns. And I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay. Okay. So that felt all over the place, but I think it was fine. Whew, that noise going away is everything. Okay, so if you're seated, I'm standing today. I actually really like standing, and I think I'm going to do it every time now. We're going to meditate. So just either if you're seated, just make sure you're sitting up straight, that your shoulders are over your hips. If you're going to lay down, just find a nice comfy spot right now. And if it feels safe to do so, let your eyelids go heavy. It didn't go away. It got really quiet for a second. Start to just take some deep breaths. With each inhalation, feel yourself gathering calm inside your body. With each exhalation, feel tension releasing from your body. Every breath, feel yourself becoming lighter, more relaxed, open to the journey ahead. I'm going to give it just a second. Sorry, guys. Just quietly breathe for just a moment. Every breath, you get a little bit lighter. And imagine yourself standing at the beginning of that winding path that I showed you on the moon card. You can see the crawfish coming out of the water. You can see the fields in front of you and the mountain range in the distance. It's twilight, the time when light and shadow blend. And it helps create a world that is familiar and mysterious at the same time. As you start walking down the path, just begin to notice the details around you. You'll see the dog on one side and the wolf on the other, and you'll feel very safe. You feel the cool earth beneath your feet. You can smell the flowers, but you can't see them. It's just that dusky light, just enough to make out shapes. The path leads you into a landscape that feels both wild and welcoming at the same time. The moon is rising. Let it be whatever size or shape moon shows up. It casts a silver glow over everything. The light is soft but clear, illuminating your way. You feel safe. You feel guided. The path now leads you to a dark, moonlit garden. This enchanted place is alive. There's the subtle rustling of leaves, the gentle murmur of a nearby stream. The air is filled with expectation of waiting. You feel so safe here. It's dark, but it's so beautiful. In the heart of the garden, you see a figure bathed in moonlight. This is the archetype of the moon herself. Let her come, let her show up in whatever way she shows up. She is both ancient and timeless. Her eyes are reflecting the wisdom of the cosmos. You approach and sit before her, feeling a profound sense of peace. You have this moment to have a talk and ask her some questions. Remember that you can always write them down in your mind's eye and stick them in your left front pocket. But begin to ask her, what cycles should I be looking at in my life right now? What cycles should I be looking at in my life right now? What habits or patterns should I be noticing? What habits or patterns should I be noticing? What unconscious fears or needs might they be tied to? What is my relationship with mystery and the unknown like? What is my relationship with mystery and the unknown like? Do I struggle with not knowing? Last question. What types of thoughts will help me the most? What types of thoughts will help me the most? Let the moon respond to you in words, in feelings, images, sensations. You get to sit in this garden, having this conversation beneath this endless sky. You're in this sacred space for reflection and insight. Stay here for as long as you need. When you're ready, you'll thank the moon for her guidance and her wisdom. And be sure to stand up and walk back down your path, carrying with you the insights and the feelings that you've discovered, leading you back to the here and now, to the room you're in when you're ready. I will see you next week for the sun.